Alright, g'day folks, my name's Ashley and today I'm going to do a video on basic VOR intercepts, and I'm going to use three instruments. Each operates independently. So we've got the HSI, below that we have an RMI which acts like an ADF but it's actually tuned into a VOR, and VOR number 2 which is an old school VOR display. Each one operates independently and I'll be using all three. Alright. So I've got a VOR tuned in on nav1, 112.0. The same navaid is also tuned in on nav2. And it is a VOR DME. So the DME is on nav1, which is showing a distance when you're tracking directly towards or away from the navaid. This will read accurately the ground speed. And if you're tracking towards the navaid, it'll let you know how long it's going to be before you get there. Nav2, since it's tuned in to the same navaid, it's going to display the same information. So I'm going to leave it on nav1 for this entire video. Alright, so nav1, or the HSI, nav1 is displayed on the HSI. And I got to admit, like when I first learned to fly, there weren't moving maps, GPS or anything like that. And this is all we had. This is the closest thing we had to a moving map. And if you learn this, it's not difficult. You can actually visualize this as your moving map, and I'll explain later how that is. Below we have VOR2, the RMI. This needle acts like an ADF, although it's tuned into the VOR. It constantly points towards the navaid. This one over here is just an old traditional VOR display, so pretty straightforward. Right, so currently I'm heading about 124 degrees. Obviously the RMI or the CDI is not tuned in yet. But looking at this needle here, if I pretend that needle is on top here, if I want to track directly to the station right now, I have to go straight towards the needle. That's about 15 degrees to the left of the bottom there. So say about there. If I take up a heading of 320, we'll probably track straight to it, and I'll tune this in and see if this confirms that. We're pretty close. Okay, now it's about 10, 12, so it's probably about there now. Look at that. So let's do that. Let's track directly to the navaid. So far, so good, right? Alright. Well, currently we are, according to the DME, about 18.4 DME away from the VOR. So it'll take us a little while to get there. And how do I explain this? It's really quite straightforward. As you know, a VOR sends out radials in all directions around it, all 360 degrees, right? Well, this is a DG. This has 360 degrees around it, right? Well, the way I was taught to read the HSI, or to visualize it, is like this. Imagine the VOR is in the middle, right? The top is always going to be the direction you're heading. The top of the HSI is the direction you're always heading. That makes sense, right? Now if I center this needle, we are heading towards the station, and I'll even put it in this one as well. So that's what, 312 or something like that. This one will also center up. Yep, about 312 or thereabouts. We're heading towards the station. Okay, and this RMI, and keep remembering these are all operating independently. It's about 5 degrees to my left of my heading, which is where the track I've selected. So all three are showing that we're on track, tracking 312 to the station, or we are out 133 from the station, thereabouts. All three indicate the same thing. Okay. Right, so imagine the VOR on this HSI is in the middle. That's the direction we're heading, and since we're heading towards the station, we're actually here on the overall map. So imagine this is the plan view looking down on the VOR. It's there. You got every radial in every direction all around it. We're currently 13.3 miles away on this radial here, heading towards the VOR. Now, there is a VOR approach, VOR runway 19 at Shelbyville, which is the VOR we're tracking towards right now. The outbound is 336. So when we get close, I'll slow down to 100 knots, because that's the speed you fly in approaches in the Duchess. It's about 100 knots. So just imagine, this is the VOR right here. Visualize this. We're on the radial tracking towards the VOR, and we want to go 336 outbound. Well, if I go 336 outbound, when I'm overhead the navaid, or just before it, I'll make a right-hand turn to track 336 and go outbound. And of course, the inbound track is the reciprocal of that. So I do a right-hand procedure turn, come back to the navaid again. And when you're doing IFR, you use the same technique. So let's just say this was the inbound track that we're on, and it's also the outbound track. So we're just under 10 miles away. Coming inbound, you get to the VOR, and if it's a left-hand pattern, you would hold and then go outbound, do a procedure turn and come back, or come inbound on another track. So you just got to visualize everything on here. Okay, so we have Shelbyville off to our left here, forward left. The VOR is about 4 miles north of the field, so it's around here somewhere. And as you can see, we're about 2 minutes away. We're traveling at 152 knots ground speed, and about 5 miles away. And we're relatively on track. And as you can see, the needle's going to get more and more sensitive now. So I'm going to pull the power back to about 17 or thereabouts. I'll put the pitch full forward. Alright, speed's below 140. I'm going to put the gear down. And I've turned the volume bouncer in transition. Alright, we've got 3 greens. It's slowing us down as I like. Once we're in the wide arc, I'll put 10 degrees of flaps out. Flap indicators down here. Okay, we're in the wide arc. I'll put 10 degrees out. Yeah, I will need to put the power up to about 21, because I want to maintain about 100 knots. Alright, so we're just under 3 miles DME. And keep in mind, DME and GPS distance do vary when you get close to the navaid. Although they're showing about the same at the moment, because our altitude's not that high, but the higher you are and closer to the navaid, the more difference you'll get. But the difference is DME is slant range and GPS distance is actually your distance along the ground. So 3.5, it's going to indicate about 0.5 or thereabouts when we're overhead, maybe 0.4. You just got to be aware it's not going to read 0 when we're overhead, unlike GPS. Now, because we're close, I don't want to make too many heading changes to chase the needles. It's not worth it. It's just going to make it more difficult. Alright, so we're going to go outbound 336. So I'm going to put 336 on the nav2. It's about that. Alright, heading back because I'm not watching. Right, I'm not going to chase the needle now. I'm just going to, because we're really close. there should be a difference now. Yeah, see 0.4, 0.6. Yeah, see, there's a slight difference. All right, 336, let's go. And you'll see the needle will swing around. Yep, there's station passage, flagged, flag. Easy. And normally you take note of the time. But in this particular case, for this approach, go outbound 336. It just takes a moment to settle down again. I'll probably make a slight heading change there. And because we're still close to the navaid, it won't take much of a heading change to bring it back. Now with an RMI, just like an ADF, we want to track on this track here that I've put the needle on, right? Or the CDI. The tail of the needle is to the left of the track that we want, therefore I had to turn to the right, and that's always when you're tracking outbound using an RMI or an ADF. And of course, if you're tracking inbound, you would follow the head of the needle, which you'll see when we do our reciprocal. That VOR2 also confirms we're pretty much on track. CDI on nav1 or the HSI confirms we are pretty much on track. Pretty close, not exactly, but we're close. The RMI, it's about 6-7 degrees to the left of the heading, about 5 on the track, so this heading should bring us right on track. And of course, if you're doing the actual VOR, you have to remain within 10 dm. So we're at 3, which is about 3 now. Maintaining 100 knots. Easy. So normally with this approach, you're going to descend, like in this case, you can descend down to 2,400 feet. I'm not going to bother descending, but that's what you would do. And at about 7 miles, you'd start your procedure turn. I'm not going to wait that long, because we don't need to wait that long. But it's a right-hand procedure turn. Now published, it says you can go outbound heading 021, that would be out there, and you'd go in that direction for 1 minute. Then you make a left turn, take up a heading of 201, and then re-intercept the reciprocal. However, I actually prefer to do 80-260 turns. Now with a procedure turn, you still need to do it on the correct side that's published. So in this case, it's a right-hand procedure turn. But I'm going to do an 80-260 instead of the published headings. The result's the same. Alright, so I'll do that now. So what it is, you turn 80 degrees in the direction you want. In this case, it's right. So instead of turning to that heading, I'll turn to 065 at rate 1. So let's do that. That light's distracting. Just like real life, that actually does happen. That light is distracting. And normally in IFR conditions, I would have waited till I was about 7 miles. Alright, now let's turn back in the other direction. Once again, at rate 1. Oops, stay at rate 1 please. So you're maintaining the same altitude, same speed, rate 1 in both directions for your turn. And it should bring you back on track in the opposite direction. Just you're flying the reciprocal. So instead of flying 336 outbound, I'm going to now fly 156 to the station. And I'll show you how to visualize it once again. It's the same method as before. Alright, so the CDI is going to indicate when we're on track. And we'll actually change the needle to 156 inbound. I do recommend you put the head of the needle in the direction you want to fly. That's 155, about 156. Alright, so we're going to overshoot it a little bit probably. We have. That's fine. We'll re-intercept. And you've got a half scale tolerance for IFR. Okay, so with the CDI, obviously it's indicating the track that we want is to our left. So my heading is a bit to the left of track. The RMI is about 5 degrees to the right of my nose. So it's to the left of the track we want. Therefore we have to continue with our left. Our heading left of the track we want, and it'll slowly intercept. We are pretty close, so I'm going to speed it up a little bit. And 156. I should have tuned this in earlier. A bit lazy of me. 156. And just like real life, they're never exactly matching up, but they're pretty close. Now, when we get back, the RMI should match the course deviation indicator. Alright, so for visualizing, okay, obviously we are flying towards the navaid. I can tell by this flag here, the direction of the needle. The RMI also is pointing towards it. And this says, hey, I don't want that. Must be a bit of wind or something. Yeah, also this is showing we're heading towards the navaid as well. So, picture the VOR in the middle. We're heading towards it, so therefore we're down here heading towards the navaid, and that's our heading. And you should see Shelbyville Airport up ahead. Now, inbound you'd descend to 1,700 feet, and once you get station passage you'd continue on descending down to 1,180 feet, but obviously I'm not worried about that today. We're just tracking certain radials. And I picked this one because they're kind of random radials. They're not like 360, 180. I wanted to make sure I picked ones that were just kind of random. And it doesn't matter actually which radial it is. You just follow what the needles are telling you. You'll track where you want to go. So yeah, always picture the VOR in the middle. The DG represents all of the radials around it. We're heading towards it, therefore with the VOR there, we're here. And that's our heading. We're tracking along here. And any radial you want, that's where you've got to turn to. And keep in mind, RMI operating independently, if you have one. It's like an ADF, just like an ADF. When you're tracking towards the station, you follow the head of the needle in relation to the track you want. The tail of the needle, if you're tracking outbound, you do the opposite. It's really, really that easy. Okay, let's have a look at the difference in DME versus GPS. So I was estimating about 0.4 when we're overhead. 0.1. And there's station passage, and the needle's turning. You'll see the flags flip, speed's going crazy. Yeah, it was 0.4 when we're overhead. And the numbers are increasing again, so we definitely have passed it. Look at that. That is all there is to tracking by a VOR. You'll see the needle will resettle in a minute. See, it's coming back in. So yeah, now that we're overhead, or we've passed it, the VOR is still in the middle. Let's just turn that a little bit. This is not part of the approach, but picture the VOR in the middle. Now that the VOR is behind us, we're up here with this heading at currently 1.7 DME. That's it. There's your VOR. These are all your radials around it. And we're currently up here at 2.0 DME with this heading. So this is your moving map right here, the HSI, and that's all there is to it. Hopefully this video has helped you understand VORs and visualizing it without a moving map. I hope it has, because that's how I learned to fly the VORs, was with an HSI, and I really enjoy them. I think they're really good, and obviously you can use them for ILS as well, because it has a glide slope indicator as well. However, this is just a VOR demonstration. Alright, thanks for watching. I hope this video helped you out. I'll see you later.